Credit scores are key in our lives, especially when it comes to purchasing a large asset and applying for a loan. They're also a huge contributor to whether you live in a desirable location or not. And does joint credit impact your credit score? And should you keep your credit separate from your partner? Yes, credit scores are extremely important, and let's find out why. To help us understand credit scores, I'm joined by Elena Jara, who is the Community Engagement Partner at Bromwich Smith. Elena is located in Toronto, Ontario. Elena, welcome to Empowered.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
So let's begin from the very beginning, because everybody talks about credit scores, but a lot of people don't know what it is yet. So what is a credit score and how is it determined?
Well, a credit score is really just a number, and it's determined by a lot of factors, actually. And so to start off with your credit history, it impacts your score, which means how many times have you applied for credit? How is your payment history? Um, Also, have all sorts of things such as what else? How much debt are you carrying on those credit cards? So those are the three main factors. There's other factors too. So every time you apply for credit, it impacts your credit score. Every time you decide that, hey, I need to apply for something, it'll impact your credit score. So that's called a credit inquiry. But also, um, a lot of the times people think, well, I've just arrived to the country, and how's that going to affect my credit score? Well, again, because the credit score uh, formula is so secret, they really can't tell us exactly how they figure it out. But what we do know for a fact is that it's based on the number of years you've had credit. So, and it's very specific, it's very unique to each consumer in Canada as well as in any other part of the world. So, when we talk about factors, it really is very important to understand that your situation is unique, and therefore your credit score is going to be unique specifically to you in the way you're using credit.
So let's talk about the difference between a credit history and a credit score.
Sure. A credit history basically um, just shows us, it's like a snapshot of where you're at with your credit information. It'll explain your employment history. Also say how long you've lived at the present address that you're at, or it'll also show the previous address if you've lived there less than 2 years. It'll also show all the credit information that you have, whether you have a credit card, a credit loan, sorry, a card loan, a line of credit, any type of credit that you've ever applied for. It'll show the number of times you've been on time, the number of times you've been late. It'll show absolutely everything. So that's your history. While your credit score is just a number based on that information that was gathered. So it's just a formula that they used to create that credit score for you.
So what impacts your credit score?
Well, there's several things that can truly impact your credit score, specifically your payment history. So a lot of people may think, oh, you know what? I only have to make a $10 minimum payment. So I'm just going to wait till next month. It's not going to be a big deal. But the reality is that the creditors have set a minimum payment for you, and they've given you a due date, which means that you need to respect that. And when you don't, it'll show on your file as you were late. So let's say, for example, you were required to pay $10 on the 15th, and you decided that, hey, you know what? I'll only pay $10, but on the 17th of the month. So you're late. Or you paid on the 15th, but you only paid $5. So you're late. So either way, that's going to impact your credit score. The other things that impact your credit score also, it's every time you apply for credit. So a lot of people think, well, I need to have more than one credit card in order to have a good credit score. That's not necessarily so. It's really advised that you have one credit card rather than 10 credit
10?
cards, right? Because you don't want to have that many, because you maybe not going to be able to pay those off as you're supposed to. And sometimes people get tempted to use all of those credit cards, right? So you have to be very, very careful. The other thing too is that every time you So I said payment history. So let's say, for example, you have a credit card. So it's the limit that you use. So it's advisable that the maximum that you use is 30% of the credit that you're given.
Hold that
So
thought, Elena. 30% of credit that you're giving. We will talk more about this when we come back. We'll be right back.